Is Phyllis here? No Phyllis? Okay. Bert B? Is she here? Where are they? Oh. First one, yeah. You can both come up if it would help. And you can wait till she's done and help her down. Let's give her a big hand. Either whatever's on your heart, if you want to say something to the newcomer, whatever's on your, whatever you want us to talk about, or to the newcomer, whatever you want to talk about. And when she says 5 minutes are up, then we'll.
Oh, okay. Hello, my name is Phyllis. I'm in Al-Anon. I have about 35 years of Al-Anon. And I just want to say hello to everybody. And I don't know what to say, but anyway, I've been in the recovery for that long, and I'm so nervous up here. I don't know what to say. Anyway, I'm from Fort Defiance area, Fort Defiance, Arizona, and I'm so grateful for just being among you people, and you give me the message that, you know, I can always go on and be able to help myself in recovery. And I have three boys that are in recovery too. Also, they just got into recovery. And I'm so glad that they are in recovery, that I don't have to worry about them anymore, and they're doing their own thing, and which is good, you know. And I have three grandkids, hopefully that they get into recovery too. And I'm so grateful that, you know, they're doing their own thing, and they're I don't remember myself as myself as being codependent, but it always feels good to be able to communicate with my own kids, and being able to know that, you know, they're doing okay. And then I'm doing okay with myself too. And I haven't been going to Al-Anon in a while, so which I need to start doing since my kids are into recovery. And I kind of slid away from that, but I go to these conferences, in the conferences that we usually have. You know, I've been coming to this conference for quite a while too, so, and I like to be among people that are in recovery, that I know they gave me the encouragement and stuff like that, so that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's okay. That's all right. And next is Bert, her husband.
Bert, recovering alcoholic. Bert. And I'm Dine. Being my clan is Bitani. That's the fallen Irish people. And born to the salt people, Lashian. And then my mom's side, my grandpa is Toakiaklini. And then my dad's side's Kislichigni, the Red House people. And we were talking earlier about, being here and all that, and I mentioned being a speaker up in Mesquite during that 9/11. So, it's an honor to be here. And I've been in the program for 35 years, and I was just wondering, what is an old timer? Where do we start being an old timer? But when I first came in, I heard a lot of that, and always wondered, about this program when I first stepped into it. And I think I only lasted two months. And how you receive those chips. And after the meeting, I guess I wasn't ready for this program. And after the meeting, I put the chip back down on the table. And I went back out and continued where I left off. And one of the long timers, when I first stepped into the program, the first contact to that person was, he was sitting in the corner. And the guy's name's Howard P. And he kind of mentioned that, if you're good and ready, welcome home. But at that time I wasn't ready to accept the program. And how the chairperson was telling everybody to introduce themselves, and it got to me, and I introduced myself, and I said, my name is Bert, an alcoholic. Then after the meeting I left, and I said, man, what did I say I was an alcoholic? Now I'm in. So that didn't last too long. And I went back out and continued, where I left off. And as I heard within the 2 months, listened from other members, and that message that I was receiving, it was all there all this time. And there's a lot of message that stuck in my head. And there's one guy that used to always say, AA is like a ranch, just not fit right in. And that was me. But it's a program of getting help. I remember when I was small, my dad was standing at the sink, and with all the drinking that he did, and he's throwing up and all that, and he kind of got my attention. He looked this way. I was putting my shoe on, getting ready for school, and he looked at me and he said, "This is it, son. No more drinking. Tired of being sick all the time." And that message was right there. As the day went on, that I was going to school, and all of a sudden there's a PA system that came on saying that JFK got assassinated. So I guess that message, how the Creator works through people, and that message was there, that part of his drinking that he wanted to stop. That assassination, that JFK, and I guess it was already there. So, through the program of recovery,
Okay.
Huh.
Time's up.
What?
5 minutes is up.
I got the best job ever.
Yes.
Oh,
5
shoot.
minutes. That was it.
Okay. Thank you.
Give him a hand. I liked his story. Did you hear that? 9/11 and JFK got shot. That's awesome. I mean, that's like the burning bush, right? Yes, he had the bright lights going on. The next one is David L. from Hawaii. Remember, there's 5 minutes, so we can get as many people in as we can. Thank you.
My alcoholic, my name is David. And black experience, black experience on the island of Oahu in the Hawaiian Islands is my home group. I'm a youngster in this. I'm 28, and by the grace of the Creator, on the 29th of next month, I'll be 29. One day at a time, right? One day at a time. My mom is Yankton, Dakota. My father is Auten, River people from Salt River. So I say aloha, I say haukolas, and I say shabkais. Yeah? So I can get both sides in the cat, yeah? I'm what you call him, my parents were the guys that federal relocation. So we went from Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and they relocated us to Oakland, California in 1963. And my parents, too much urban crime and like that, they said, we'll move to Vallejo, California. That was the baddest little city in the West, yeah? And I got to find out all those people and all those things with my drinking. That's most of my drinking career started there. May 69, by the grace of God, or by the grace of Creator. September 29, 1993 is the last step. Well, my last drink was on the 28th. The 29th was my first sober breath. And I haven't found it necessary to go back and have a drink or anything other, any of my other things that come along with our drinking, yeah. It's been a whirlwind, yeah. At that time, and then I've been gone to these AA meetings, throwing my paper at the trusted servant, and sitting in the back like this, because I don't want nothing from you guys, right? But the thing I didn't understand in that 5 months I was there is that my ears were there. And when the guys got up, they talked about surrender. They talked about a power greater than themselves. They talked about living the program. They talked about all these things like that, yeah? When it came time to relapse on the 28th, when I woke up the next day, I realized, on the 28th, that second fifth I got, I poured it down the waste pipe. I actually got on my knees like you guys talked about. And I said, God, I don't want to go back and do this again. And when I woke up, my sober breath said I needed to do something about my recovery. So I went off and asked this guy to be my sponsor. I really liked what he had, yeah? And he said, no. What? He said, do you have a big book? And I said, yeah. I want you to go home, blow the dust out of that big book. I don't know how you knew. And read that thing, and I'll give you an answer. So I said, okay, I like what he had. And so I started doing that. And then finally, I read Dr. Alcoholic Addict in the number 3. And then right before acceptance was the answer. But before that, okay, God, I have all people, and I didn't give my permission. I'm an alcoholic of sorts. Now what am I going to do about it? In my life, all these people cried and they said, you stop drinking. All these judges went and hit the gavel. They said, you're gone. Nobody ever said, what am I? I never asked myself, what am I going to do about my sobriety? Once I did that, I realized something. I had to do something about my sobriety. If I do something, and that one guy I asked, he became my sponsor. He said, if you do a little bit, just a small amount, miracles happen in recovery. If you do nothing for your sobriety, nothing happens. And that's exactly what had happened. Hey, I got in that book, and I got into things, and I started sponsoring people. I started doing all these good things and like that. Got step 3, and they went off and he told me to do volunteer work. Volunteer work? I have sponsees. I have a sponsor. I have a home group. I'm doing it. Do volunteer work. You see, we got to get rid of the selfishness. We must, or it kills us, yeah? I didn't know that I was selfish and self-centered to the max until then. I found 2 days in my busy schedule, yeah? After about a week, I found 2 days in my busy schedule, being that I was unemployed at the time. Yeah. And yeah, I did volunteer work 2 different days. And I can remember I did that for about 5 months. My sponsor said, go in there and give your friendship, give your help in every way, and give your love when you can. Okay, I'll do that. I follow direction. And I can remember about 5 months into it, this little, after the first couple of times, I saw that if I was leaving, they didn't have enough people to feed people, right? So I stayed and I made my 4 hours, 6 hours. I started feeding people. I got in the corner. I was feeding 2 people at once and cleaning them, talking story with them, joking. And about 5 months in, I remember I could have gone right at that time. There was a little lady in a wheelchair. Okay, 1 second. Her name is, 1 second, her name is Rose. Yeah, and she was in a wheelchair like this, and so I sat her down. I cleaned off her mouth because the people, I guess, didn't have time. And I started feeding her, and I was talking a story. Her little hand stopped shaking, and she looked up at me, and she had a little tear in her eye, and I rubbed it away, you know. And I talked to her, and she was okay. I left, and I said I was going to see her, and I came back on the next day, or 2 days later, and they found out that she had expired that night. Yeah, but I want to let you know the miracle is the program. I gave that woman dignity. I gave her love, and this is from a firewater drinking Native American alcoholic. I didn't give a rat's about nobody. You see the chicken skin on my arms, on my neck, on my back? Everything I tried to drink down, I'd slam down, put up my nose. I wanted this feeling. I get it for free today. Anyway, thank you for my sobriety.
That's a lot in a little time. Okay, now, somebody signed Leon CE up. Is he here? Maybe there's something you forgot to say, or you got 5 minutes to come and say it.
I'll be real short and sweet. Thanks, Leon, alcoholic. My sobriety birthday is June 1st, 1980. I'm an orphan here in Las Vegas, so I still don't have a home group. I was racism has pushed me from one group to another, so I'm still looking for a home. I'll make this short and sweet. When I had 40 years sobriety, I had this elder talk to me in Laughlin, and he says, Leon, he says, when you hit 40 years old, you only need to go to 1 meeting a week. 1. Isn't that kind of a dream when you first start out? But he said you need to go to 3 to 5 meetings a week because you don't know when that 1 meeting is. So that's the way I live my life. The sobriety's still precious, but I go to 3 to 5 because don't know which one I need. Thank you.
That was awesome. Sir Herschel from Gila River.
Good afternoon, my name is Herschel and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm grateful to be anywhere sober. And I didn't come in saying that, but I said it today because what AA, thousands of meetings and a few world conferences has done to me. My sobriety date is June 22nd, 1984. And for that I'm grateful. And I'm one of those alcoholics that didn't want to be in AA. All my family drank, and I'm the only one in my family that's in AA. And, I asked my daughter one time, I have 3 children, well 2 now, one got killed in a car accident. Thank God I was 9 years sober. But asked my daughter, she's 46, and I said, how come you never drank? And she said, because I saw what it did to my uncles, my brothers, my parents, and people that I knew all dying from it, so I never wanted to drink. And I saw the same thing. And when I took my first drink, I loved it. I don't know what alcohol did to you, but it changed everything about me. I'm this painfully shy kid growing up. Never had a girlfriend in grade school or high school because I didn't drink till I was 18 years old. And I couldn't talk to them, And once I drank, I made it for lost time. I was the man with the plan. And I could dance. I was a better fighter. I was better at everything I did when I drank. And it only took a few drinks. It was amazing how wonderful that was. And today, I don't have to drink anything to have a wonderful life. I'm retired. I got a wonderful life now. I got all the creature comforts at home. Everything that I own, I paid for, I worked for it. And for me, it's not about the money. It's about the spiritual principles I learned in AA. And I got sober. I sober people. I sponsor people. But I only know one way to sponsor is the way I was sponsored. I don't try to reinvent AA. Because it doesn't need any reinvention. It's good just the way it is. And I hope that if I keep it that way, my grandchildren, if they become alcoholic, they'll have a place to come. And this program works for anyone. And I had a stroke about 4 years ago. I almost died. And I had a gallbladder attack. And I couldn't walk. I don't take walking for granted anymore. I used to use a walker. And when I was in treatment, they had a belt tied around my waist so in case I fall, they could hold me up. And today, I've been exercising for about 4 years. And on my 71st birthday, I did 71 push-ups in the morning. And I do that not to impress anybody, because I don't go to war with anybody in life. I go to war with my own mind. Because my mind tells me some crazy stuff. Somebody said, you can look at people, just don't stare. And it's the same way with life. You can do life, but, be easy on yourself. What does the book say? Be hard on ourselves and easy on others. But I'm living proof you don't have to die for a drink. In the book it talks about that alcoholics of my type, for us to drink is to die. And I believe that. Once I take that first drink, I'm gone. I never drank just one beer. Never. And like I said, but the drink that I loved so much in the beginning almost killed me. It almost killed me. And so I sat in these early rooms when I first got sober. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want what you had, And those of you that said, don't get involved with women, they were married or had girlfriends. Of course they're going to tell you that. But if I did one thing right, I adhered to that one principle. Because there were some women years later who got up at the podium and said, I'm so glad this man didn't lay a hand on me. And that feels good to know that women respect you today. Because it's not just the men that respect you, it's the women too. And because we live in both worlds. So I'm so grateful that I'm a part of. I was at the very first of this convention, the very first one. It was in Las Vegas. I was at that one. I've been to a few world conferences. There was one in Toronto. I was talking to Doug earlier, and he's from Canada, and I told him I was at the Toronto World Convention. And I was all set to go to Detroit when they canceled it. But AA, I couldn't. I'm so blessed today. I'm just so blessed. The book says we will have a host of friends, and that's what I have today, a host of friends. So I'm glad that you're all here. And if you're new, please stay here. It does get better. With that, I'm going to pass. Thank you for letting me share.
That was awesome. Duncan M. from San Diego.
Hey, I'm Duncan, alcoholic. Duncan! It's a good day to be sober. Yeah, my dad came to Alcoholics Anonymous the year I was born, 1955. The story went, he got a good-looking woman as a sponsor, and she was supposed to give him some if he stayed sober for a whole year, and she didn't pay up. Matter of fact, my dad told me when he went to the podium to take his cake, she said, Walter, you're on your own. Find a male sponsor. And so my dad went out and started drinking again, and I grew up around somebody trying to drink like a gentle person. And it wasn't pretty. He had 5 kids, black man married a white woman, So fast forward to 1982, I was in trouble with the law. I called him up. He had been in and out of AA since like a 30, 60, 90-day wonder since I was 17, and I was 26 then. And I said, what should I do? I'm in trouble with the law. He said, Duncan, don't be an asshole. Go to an AA meeting and take your first step. That's what my father gave me. He said, and don't be like me. Don't take the first half of the first step. Take the whole thing. We admitted we're powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. I mean, he had it in New York in 1955. I mean, he knew Bill Wilson. It was a smaller world then in AA, and so I started going to meetings. I made a wrong turn on a way to go get a 12-pack and went to an AA meeting. Yeah. And the people hugged me and they loved me. You know what I mean? They right at the door, they greeted me. You know what I mean? This is what they told me. They said, it's the first drink that gets you drunk. I never knew that. I thought it was the last call for alcohol. When you went around drinking the pitchers of beer with the cigarette butts in them, I thought that's when you got drunk. So, yeah, fast forward, a guy looked at me at one of my first meetings and he said, Duncan, he goes, you can stay sober and like it. I was very intimidated by that. I could not comprehend a life without alcohol at that point in my life. I could not comprehend enjoying life without alcohol. So fast forward, I moved to San Diego County. This guy I was sponsoring said, "You want to get involved? We're planning a convention," and it was Josh Weber, and we started going to planning meetings and at the Riviera, and I went one, and I got a room, and me and Narciso and Josh Weber and Earl met, and I became the person in charge of the getting the Al-Anon and Alateen speakers. I think that was I went to the second, and I think that I was involved for the third. At the second, I won the raffle at the banquet, Earl, and I won this tapestry, and it was in my home for years and hanging on the wall. I had it dry cleaned. It was hanging in the closet. I went through divorces and stuff, and I think in 2014 I came and I gave it to Velma, and they, and the woman who made this is from Viejas, and it honors, it honors us in San Diego to have it be a part of you, because that's important. That's important to me today, because of the Creator and and how this has ended up here with all of you, and I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad to know that I'm an alcoholic today. It's a very important part of my identity. You know what I mean? Because without being an alcoholic, I'd have some serious problems.
Now, the last person on my list is, I went to my first Red Road convention and ran into her, and I had a Comanche shirt on, and she goes, I'm Comanche, and we almost got in an argument. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. And that's something you need to know about Comanche women. We could get not nice. So, anyway, she's been my best friend, my sister through Alcoholics Anonymous, and I just call her up here. Dina.
5 minutes. I got 5 minutes? 5 minutes. Hi, everyone. My name is Dina Baca from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I am an alcoholic. I am of the Numina tribe. That's what we call ourselves, Numina. Wow. Look at all the beautiful people and faces out here, shining bright. I love it. Love it. Sobriety looks good on you all, man. It does. And it saved my life. And today it still continues to save my life. And how just everything is so connected. You know what I mean? It's a trip how everything's connected. I'm going to share, I shared my sobriety date, but I'm going to share a little bit about my day this morning. And me and my brother Chris were walking around goofing off, because nobody was there to tell us what to do. They weren't awake yet, so we were left unsupervised. So we went out and we're doing our thing, and you know how they have all these people out there on the Fremont Street and whatnot. So we were talking to this one guy, and he notices Chris's pouch and badge, and he's like, so what convention are you guys here for? And we told him we're here for the alcoholic, here for AA is what I told him, just like that. We're here for AA. And he's like, oh, my dad was in AA. And he gave us a story, and long story short, his dad ended up, had 15 years and ended up relapsing and dying. Only the one time he relapsed. And that just gave me chills, and I told that man, I said, thank you for sharing that. I said, I needed to hear that. This alcoholic needed to hear that because that saved my life today. Made me extremely grateful to be here. This is my first time at this meeting, at this convention, and true blessings, definitely true blessings. But I don't feel like I'm a stranger here. So many familiar faces, bless you. And, my second family is here. My first family is here. And, I'm just so grateful I have this opportunity. I'm a working member of society today when, I was that drunk Indian in the bushes. At one point, I didn't know Duncan was from San Diego or in that area. And, I'm an urban Indian, and that's where I did I was born and raised in San Diego because my family, my grandma, my kaku, was part of the relocation program, and they were relocated to San Diego. And so that's where my mom was raised, and that's where I was born and raised. And, I come from a long line of alcoholics, and I'm grateful that there is, I have I have an uncle who got sober, but he was like a 12-stepper, he got sober and didn't finish the rest of the steps and tried to tell everybody else how to get sober. But then I have an auntie who has, by the grace of God, she's going to celebrate 40 years and next year, and she was my example that it can be done, and so hopefully, God willing, I get to go on a road trip and give her cake next year for her 40th, God willing. And but that's coming from the streets of, El Cajon and partying at Viejas, like he's talking about Viejas, I partied there and did all of this stuff, and good Lord, the lives I'd lived, it is only by the grace of God, and it's one day at a time that this alcoholic's been saved. I've been able to do the step work as it's written and as it is, and I'm living a life I never, ever dreamt possible. And it doesn't go to say that life isn't in session. Life is definitely in session, and I've had some huge losses in my life in the year of July 2019 to December 2019, and it still hurts, but I can admit that today. And I'm finally in a place where I can do better and seek that outside help and even continue more healing. But if it wasn't for this program, I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't be able to feel that. I wouldn't be able to go through the steps necessary to deal with such significant losses in my life. And I'm grateful that I have a partnership with my Creator who's been able to be there for me for everything. And for me, exercising my faith is a daily thing, because if I don't, and I'm left to my own devices unsupervised, I would be in trouble. So thank you all for being an example to me and being here.
All right, we got, 13 minutes? So about 2 more people like to come up. Come on up over here.
Good afternoon, I'm Doug McKenzie from the Great White North.
Hi, Doug.
Yeah, my sobriety date is August 22nd, 1985. And I come from a community, we have a reservation up there at 1 square mile, and when I was growing up, there was probably 60 people there, but we've grown to 250 people now. And I come to meetings like this and I say, well, 50% of my group is here. So, and, but I want to tell you where I was just sitting here thinking, and I'm thinking about alcoholism in my family, and I'm thinking, well, if you can relate to this story, you're probably an alcoholic. But we live on an island, so when they used to party, you had to, somebody had to go to town and bring back the wine. So it was in the springtime, and the ice was pretty weak. And so the guy was going to go to town and get some wine, and he was going out the door, and my dad threw a life preserver at him. And he said, you better take this life preserver. And the guy says, oh, I don't need a life preserver. I'm not scared. I can swim. And my dad told him, it's not for you. It's for the wine. and that was about that. That tells me the importance of alcohol, and I got to that point, where basically you do just about anything for alcohol, and got to the point where I had to do. I got to that point where I had to do whatever it took to stay sober. And so the closest meetings took me 45 minutes by boat first and then by car. And I did that for about 20 years, driving back and forth. And we had a group on the island, and we met once a week. But first meetings I went to, the guy used to say, that if you think you got a problem with alcohol, you're in the right place. And I knew I had a problem, but I didn't know what an alcoholic was. Because every time I drank, I got into trouble, and it was getting worse. And it was more trouble. And then he said, the way to stay sober is stay away from that first drink and go to meetings. And here it is, 37 years later. Stayed out of trouble, haven't been to jail, haven't been in a fight, and haven't had the first drink. And I continue to go to meetings whenever I can. And I was at the meeting, I think, when the conference like this, when it was in Minneapolis. And I drove down to that one from up north. So now I get blamed in the community for ruining the party. Because the young people in the community understand that, and I, got some kind of understanding that alcohol is a problem, and we don't have big dances and parties anymore that, where you can be drunk for 3 or 4 days or the weekend, and those days are gone. That's not to say we're a well community, but we're a lot better than we were. And that's what recovery can do, And I don't do it for myself these days, I do it for other people, and that's I guess learning that I'm get rid of the selfishness. And I'm glad to be here and sober, and glad this convention's here. Miigwech.
One last person, ma'am. Come on up. Then after her, then we'll round up. And I will need help down, Chris.
Hi, I'm Dulce, and I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is 1/10/92.
I have a sponsor who has a sponsor who has a sponsor. I sponsee and they have sponsees. And my home group is a 11-step meeting in Boerne, Texas at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday mornings, and you're welcome to come. It's about solutions. When I got here, I thought my life was over. I did a medical detox in a hospital for 2 weeks. I lost my kids. I thought I would lose my nursing license. My ex-husband of 11 years got everything. My kids, I lost my house. He got all my furniture and everything. I did not know what my life was going to be. I thought it was over. And you all gave me an unbelievable gift. My grandfather was Lipan Apache, and he grew up in San Antonio, Texas, because he didn't want to live on the reservation. In fact, that reservation at that time no longer existed. He used to tell me, "We come from troublesome people, stay away from the tequila." I didn't listen. But, you know, that man meant everything to me. I just loved my granddaddy. And he was good and kind, and he gave me examples of how to live, and he told me stories of how he was. He watched his mother and his grandmother being killed when he was a young kid. At least that's the story I heard. But you know what? This is an amazing program. I've gotten all of those things back, even more. I have a life beyond my wildest dreams, and I didn't know that. My children talk to me now. They trust me with their children. How amazing is that? And I just want to share with you that if you're new, stay. That's what my Uncle Redwine said to me. And actually, that was his real name, Redwine. I think my grandmother knew something the day he was born, and I believe he died with 12 years of sobriety, but he told me, just stay, because I wasn't going to stay. And I'm glad I stayed. Thank you.
Let's have one last hand for everybody who got up and shared. I'd like to thank Ken for allowing me to be of service. You know, when you're asked, you don't say no. So thank you for allowing me to stay sober another day, another hour. And we're going to circle up, and let's see. There's a young Pima lady in the gray shirt. When we circle up, will you take us out?